Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be discussing why the Boston Celtics will win the 2020 NBA championship. Before I was thinking they could, now I think they will win the NBA championship, and here's why. I mean, look at all these headlines. There are a lot of people out there who think the Boston Celtics are the dark horse to win the 2020 NBA championship. And yeah, I do know that in my playoff bracket video, I did not have the Boston Celtics winning the NBA championship, but I did say that I would be making this video. The only thing that was different was I said that the Boston Celtics could win that 2020 NBA championship, and now I think they will win the 2020 NBA championship. The last time the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship was in 2008, and now I'm predicting that the Boston Celtics will win the NBA championship once again. Alright, so here's one of the reasons I'm going to talk about, and that's past experience. Okay, so let's take it back to 2015. Look at these pictures. Just 5 years ago, their team was completely different. The only thing that's still the same is Brad Stevens being the head coach and Marcus Smart still being on the team. Then Al Horford comes to the team and plays a big role for them. During that offseason, the Celtics also signed Jaylen Brown. The Celtics had really improved, and they were great, but not great enough to get to the NBA Finals, and Isaiah Thomas was traded for Kyrie Irving the following offseason. And let's not forget how great Isaiah Thomas was with the Celtics. He almost won the MVP that season. He was actually very upset that he got traded from the Boston Celtics. On the other hand, Kyrie Irving was happy that he left Cleveland, and Gordon Hayward also joined the team that offseason, and their team was set for the next season. And they also drafted Jason Tatum that offseason, as we all know, and everyone knew that he was going to be a great player. The Celtics had a young team, and they were led by the young core of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And as we all know, on opening night, Gordon Hayward got injured. Then Kyrie Irving got injured. Then Jaylen Brown got injured, and it was on and on with injuries for the Boston Celtics. So they just had to deal with it going into the playoffs. And they really surprised everyone. In the first round of the playoffs that season, the Celtics faced the Milwaukee Bucks, and they won in 7 games. Then the Boston Celtics shocked the world by beating the Philadelphia 76ers in 5 games of the second round of the playoffs. And then the Celtics faced the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James, and everyone knew that the Boston Celtics were going to lose, but they pushed the Cleveland Cavaliers to a Game 7. It was a very close Game 7 as well. LeBron played amazing, and this was also the game where Jason Tatum dunked on LeBron. The Celtics did fall short by 7 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 7, but they had high praise for the next season. And that kind of disappointed when Kyrie came back from injury, and that's kind of the second thing I'm going to talk about. Kyrie Irving, he kind of messed up the Boston Celtics' future. I've also kind of made a video over this topic as well, but we all know that Kyrie really disappointed that season. It looked like Gordon Hayward was actually starting to come back, but we all know what happened in the playoffs that year. The Bucks just killed the Boston Celtics that series. It was different from when the Celtics lost the previous season against LeBron. No one really understands what happened. It just all went wrong, and in the second round of the playoffs, the Boston Celtics won the first game only to lose the next 4 against the Milwaukee Bucks. Then, as we know, Kyrie Irving leaves to join the Brooklyn Nets. But the next season, everyone was wondering the same thing. Who is going to lead the Boston Celtics? And that's where Jason Tatum came in. The Celtics signed Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter, and they started rebuilding from that. Now it looks like the Boston Celtics are contending to win the NBA championship, and now I'm going to talk about the Boston Celtics today. So I'm going one by one with these players, and I'm going to start with Kemba Walker. Kemba was the perfect player to replace Kyrie Irving. It was the right thing for him to do to leave Charlotte to join Boston so he could become a winner. It seems like the Boston Celtics are the right team for him. Next up, we have Jaylen Brown. After signing the huge extension with the Boston Celtics, he was expected to break out, and that is exactly what he's done this season. He's been putting up great numbers, and he looks like a completely different player. It must be the fact that his hair and his beard switched places. Anyways, he's been a great player for the Boston Celtics, and he's just exploded this season. Alright, next up we have Gordon Hayward. We all know that he had that horrible ankle injury, and it seems like he's come back from it. He already looked like he came back from the injury last season, but this season, he's really stepped up, and maybe he's even putting up better numbers than he did with Utah. We're all glad that he's back. Next up, we have Jason Tatum. This season, Jason Tatum has stepped up to now being the leader of the team. Before the suspension of the NBA, he was putting up incredible numbers, and he still has been in the bubble. He was even an all-star this season. I know I'm not the only one, but I hate when people just talk about Jason Tatum's future. Like, we all know he's going to be great in the future as well, but let's just talk about how he's playing right now. He's already averaging 23 points. Then we have Daniel Theis. Daniel Theis has played a major role for the Boston Celtics this season, being their starting center. He can score efficiently, and he can play defense. In my opinion, Daniel Theis is one of the more underrated players in the league today. The next player I wanted to talk about was Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has been playing with the Boston Celtics for quite a while now, and he's been playing a big role for them on their defensive side. And to show how good this team really is, he's coming off the bench. And I also wanted to talk about Enes Kanter. Despite the Boston Celtics having multiple great scorers, Enes Kanter still manages to find a way to average 8 points. And he's probably the best rebounder on the team. Then, here and there, you'll see those role players for the Boston Celtics who don't play much, but they have a big impact on their team success. So, if you really think about it, the Boston Celtics are stacked. And that's going to lead to the last thing I was going to talk about today, which is the Boston Celtics' future or this season's playoffs. That's the Boston Celtics record. The Boston Celtics swept the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. And here's a look at all the games. Yeah, this was just miserable for Sixers fans. This was Joel Embiid losing last season, and this is Joel Embiid losing in the playoffs this season. And here's what Joel Embiid had to say about it. The Sixers then fired Coach Brett Brown, and now they're looking for the new head coach. The Boston Celtics are now facing the Toronto Raptors in the conference semis. Now, a lot of people think that Toronto is going to win, but you can't just give up on Boston just like that. Me personally, I have the Celtics beating the Raptors, but I think the Raptors are going to put up a fight. During the regular season, out of the 4 times they met, the Celtics have won 3 out of the 4 games. So then, if Boston advances to the conference finals, I have the Celtics facing the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, the Celtics want revenge against the Milwaukee Bucks. Look at the regular season meetings. The Celtics only won 1 of them, and then the Bucks won 2 of them. And in those 2 of them that the Celtics lost, they've been close games. Now that's going to be where the Celtics miss Al Horford a little, because Al Horford was the only player that could stop Giannis. Despite that defensive problem, I still have the Celtics playing the Clippers or the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Either one's going to be a close one, I know it. Before everyone just picks the Lakers or Clippers to win the NBA championship, let's not forget that out of the 2 times the Clippers and Celtics faced, both games went to overtime, and the Celtics won 1 of them, and the Celtics lost 1 of the games by 3. And also during the regular season, the Celtics and Lakers faced each other twice, and one of the meetings, the Celtics won by a large margin, and then the second one, the Lakers won by only 2. I think that's a strong reason why the Boston Celtics could win the NBA championship. If the Celtics win the NBA championship, I have Jason Tatum winning the Finals MVP, and I really feel like he deserves to win it. So mark my words, Boston Celtics 2020 NBA champions. That's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.